Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're watching this. My name's Rick from Strom, and I'm joined by the guy from PricePlow, who I think is called Ben.
That is correct.
That was better than the intro I had coming. Welcome back to PricePlow. Can you guys actually introduce yourselves? We got Strom here, Strom UK and Strom US.
Yes.
Which is really exciting.
So my name's Richard Foster. I'm the owner, founder, director of Strom UK. I've been doing this for, I'm 37, so 19 years now. We started as a supplement shop in the UK. I was a competitive bodybuilder and powerlifter, and we brought out our own range of products starting about 11 years ago because in the UK, there's a distinct lack of stuff for people that were performance athletes, right? And I was buying quite a few products from America. America was always a little bit ahead of the times, as illustrated by some of the stuff that we've got around here. And that's grown into, I guess, a global brand. I'm joined by Dean, and Dean runs Strom US, and apparently is quite good at golf as well.
Yeah, thank you for the random segue. Yeah, so Dean Harris, I run Strom US, significantly doing this a lot less than 19 years. Only been doing this for 6 months. I was a practicing attorney before this, and now I'm a healing attorney.
Another one.
Yeah, we're everywhere, man. That's why we're no longer
It's
attorneys.
About being a refugee.
Yeah. So I've been doing this for about 6 months now. And just like Rick said, I don't know if I can say this on this podcast, there's a lot of either no products or poor quality products for enhanced athletes in America. And a lot of Strom products are specifically targeted to that audience, which is fantastic because those are the people who need the most health support. It's just about getting them to understand they need the most health support.
You absolutely can talk about that.
Okay.
I want to get into that in a bit. I also want to say, joined by Steve Fink, we're hosted today, graciously, at a beautiful facility here at PLT Health in Morristown, New Jersey.
We're very honored to have all of you here at PLT headquarters in sunny, beautiful Morristown, New Jersey before the weather turns. So it's great to bring all of this brain trust together to talk about innovation, ingredients, trends, etc. Looking forward to it.
So there's a lot of different things that I want to get to talk about. I think there's a bunch of different PLT stuff that I want to get into because you've been on the show before, but we haven't always gotten into it. But I do think, no offense, the most interesting thing to really start with is the UK thing. We've never had people from overseas. So when Steve called me about the idea, I was like, this is really cool.
Ever.
We've done like Latin America. We've done China and India.
You're right, they're not
UK.
They're not the UK, yeah. No,
Yeah.
fair.
Well, I said overseas. I didn't say.
He did say overseas. Yeah.
So, the UK market is something where, like, Tariq is probably the biggest connection that I have. But,
Sure.
We understand.
Well, I
sad.
apologise for forcing him onto the word. The UK market I find really interesting. We look to America for a lot of ideas for the things that are going to come along the pipeline next, but I think the UK market's pretty open and honest about the realities of sport, and I think there's a perception that UK athletes are super hardcore. Certainly within bodybuilding, maybe a little bit less so with powerlifting.
You can thank Dorian Yates for that.
Yeah.
Still riding that train 30 years later.
So our consumer base has always been quite open to new things and new ways of doing, but stuff like flavors and marketing, we lag behind the US on a little bit. Strom's now in the US, and I think one of the things we do really, really well is kind of traceability of production, quality of formulation of products, but working with guys like Steve to have some of the trademark ingredients we use, the synergism there has been fantastic.
Can I talk on that real quick? So I think it's one of the things that's interesting about Strom US is, as Americans, a lot of Americans it needs to be made in the US. So that's been a barrier of, well, why do you get the products from the UK? And I've told people, well, not everything in the product is from the UK, but also the standards are so much higher on the health side in the UK. We can basically put meth in a pre-workout, but the standards for the health side are so much higher there. So getting Americans to understand that they are higher quality products has been difficult but important.
We tend to find that we get demand in the UK for American pre-workouts because,
Do whatever you want.
drugs. And then we get demand from the US and the rest of the world for health products. That's our big kind of...
It's really interesting. I've had a lot of different conversations with, especially Tariq, or just people overseas who order from the U.S. I had a very interesting opportunity to formulate a line for Applied Nutrition for America when they did their AN Performance line here. So looking at their formulas. You guys just have a different way of doing formulas over there.
Yeah, so Applied is very corporate.
Yeah,
I mean, I know the guys at Applied. They do a fantastic job, and they've done a really fantastic job of straddling this line between general public products and the more hardcore market, and they sit right bang in the middle. We very much sit on the hardcore athlete side of the market, and then Beast Farm is a brand I'm involved with that is a little bit more towards the general public. But Applied Nutrition do a really good job of providing products that are okay at a middle ground price point that's affordable for a lot of people.
And you have a much more direct to consumer distribution there through Applied, right? Like your distribution patterns in the UK are different than America.
Very few people buy Applied from Applied. You absolutely can, but most of it goes through distributors and then retailers.
And that lags behind. Like America used to be like that. Like we had Europa, Lone Star, like everyone. If you wanted to be in brick and mortar, you had to go through that.
Yes.
You had to be in the event scene.
Yeah. But I think with social media, it's so much easier for brands to reach out. So Strom, which is my main brand in the UK, is 80% wholesale, 20% business to consumer. We do have business to consumer, and obviously your margins are better business to consumer, but we have to be careful not to piss off the retailers that have supported us for over a decade. Beast Farm is the other way around. Beast Farm is kind of 80% business to consumer, which allows you to use more expensive ingredients, and it allows you to have those margins to support marketing and so on. But Beast Farm, to do that B2C, spend a huge amount of time and money on advertising to consumers.
Their customer acquisition cost is huge.
That's you guys and Eddie Hall. Correct, right?
Yes.
Just to confirm, so it's for everyone listening. I think a lot of our viewers are U.S. consumers, so I think it's going to be interesting for them to be kind of exposed to this. But this is you and Eddie, or did Eddie come to you for this? Like, how did that work out?
So I don't know how much I can say without being told off, but Eddie was with another brand, but he used Strom products for the majority of his career. I competed with Eddie in 2012. I was there to make up numbers, and he was very good. But Britain's Strongest Man 2012, we were both competing. He's used our stuff for over a decade, and the deal he had with another brand, it appeared that maybe he was not getting the best end of that deal. So he came to me and said that he wanted to do his own brand. Would I like to be involved? And I said yes, as long as it was credible, good products. Because there's so many celebrity brands that are garbage. Everything in Beast Farm is kind of like, it's probably how Strom would look if I was starting it now with a slightly more mainstream twist. It's a little bit simplified. So I am a shareholder. So I'm an owner of the business. I'm not a director. I'm the formulator. But day to day, they handle the running of that.
Cool.
And then there's another brand that you might be aware of in the UK called Combat Fuel.
Yes.
So I'm a director of that as well, and an owner of that. And that is real straightforward, simple products aimed at the military.
Keep going. You're just loud.
It's distracting when you're fiddling with my things.
Sorry. I just want to make sure you're not yelling into it.
Yeah. So those are the three main brands that I'm involved with, and they all target different parts of the market, and they're not really in competition with each other because the market is very big and people are very tribal, right?
Okay.
Someone who buys Eddie Hall stuff is probably not going to buy from a military brand, for example.
Okay. When did you meet PLT?
I forced these guys to take me for dinner at Vita Foods this year.
That was a good time over in Vita Foods. We had a really good conversation. I think it really led to what I think is a fortuitous growth for us together here.
So it was a genuine miscommunication, and I think I apologized to these guys at dinner, but basically Matt from Cellflow, who we've been using Cellflow for a good while, has been saying for ages, brother, let me take you for a steak. Whatever you want, it's on me.
Yeah.
And I thought that he was coming to Barcelona. So he arranged for our tickets to Vita Foods, and I replied to the email saying, I haven't forgotten about that steak. Where are you taking me? And that ended up in
my inbox.
In Steve's inbox. And Steve was like, right, I guess I'm taking this fucking guy to dinner. And I brought along Eddie Hall's brother and Tariq and Thomas from Strom New Zealand, and turned up expecting Matt to be taking us all for dinner on the Cellflow 6 checkbook, which I felt absolutely fine about. And then it turned out that Matt was nowhere to be seen, and it was the guys from PLT, and they probably could have been doing something much more important. But we all went for dinner. It was a good time. But at no point had they offered. I just told them they were taking us for dinner. and they booked the fanciest restaurant. It was great. I really enjoyed it.
Well,
I mean, that's how sometimes things work out that way.
I mean, you guys have good hospitality around here. I mean,
We try. We endeavor.
Yeah, we've always enjoyed it. So, where did you start using PLT? What was the first? Was it Sulflo 6 was the first ingredient you used?
So I've been aware of ApresFlex for a while. It's an ingredient I really like, but I didn't have a space for it because our joint support product goes all over the world. So Strom Support Max Joint is hugely popular, and I didn't want to, like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I didn't want to fuck with that. So I kind of had that earmarked as a thing to use somewhere. So Beast Farm Big Joint was the obvious place to put that. But we were using Sulflo 6. I don't think I was aware that it was coming through you guys because we were buying it from a UK distributor.
Okay. We have partners throughout the world and now offices in Europe as well. So it's that does at that point make sense.
But I think we've been using Sulflo for 3 or 4 years.
Okay. I always forget about the ApresFlex. ApresFlex?
Yeah,
I think that's a phenomenal ingredient. Really, really is. Particularly with the clinicals these guys have done.
100 milligrams. We just had a recent clinical, a 6-month study. It's what's amazing is it's for 100 milligrams you have an ingredient that provides relief in as little as 5 days. So very quick, very fast acting, easy to formulate with, and now long-term studies.
You'll struggle to find anything else with clinical evidence of cartilage regression.
Particularly MRI, visual proof.
And especially with that general public middle market, they want that immediate result. They need to see something quick. And we've seen that. We see with Big Joint, we see with Support Max Joint. People feel it in 2 days, 5 days, and they're like, oh, it's really working.
And there's another ingredient there called Hydrocurc, which is also a form of curcumin. It's absolutely fantastic.
It's huge. Yeah.
And the synergy between those two ingredients, I know it's rival companies, but like the synergy between those two things is genuinely fantastic.
So it's funny. You and I connected a bunch over jiu-jitsu in the last hour.
We're best friends now. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I sit with some guys and they're like, man, like I need to get on a joint product. I was looking at glucosamine, chondroitin, MSM. And it's like the founding blocks of it. It's the building blocks of where you start with the joint product, but like you don't really get into like actual discomfort regulation and like feeling better until you start looking at stuff like. I called it ApresFlex because I felt it was a little French or something.
There is some French origin.
Okay,
so
is the French origin just Rudolph?
He's definitely of French origin. But
definitely curcumin as well. Like those two additions there take it from like being like very generic to being something special.
If we geek out over formulation for a moment,
that's what this podcast is.
Support Max Joint. We formulated that 7 or 8 years ago, and the data on Hydrocurc was phenomenal. But that product has 1,000 milligrams of Hydrocurc in it. There are some people that will find that will give them a little bit of digestive discomfort. Yeah. So Strom is a hardcore brand for people like Dean, powerlifters, meatheads, people like me and you. My fingers are absolutely screwed from ghee. That 1,000 milligrams of Hydrocurc is super effective, but does limit your mainstream market a little bit. So that's where with Beast Farm, it's 600 milligrams of Hydrocurc because I need my mum to be able to buy that and it not make her shit the bed. So that's the kind of consideration that we have with a brand like Beast Farm, where it still needs to be super effective, and that's still a clinical dose, but it also needs to be tolerable by a larger proportion of your demographic.
I do the parent test as well when I formulate products. The parent test.
Oh, give it to
Can my parent take this?
Yeah.
It's a great test because how many of us are there in the world that are squatting as much as we are or used to, right? Like how many? That's not a mainstream consumer. There's not.
Social media makes you forget that you're very much an outlier, right? You can just see it all day long, and then you go out to the general public and be like, wow, this is not the real thing.
Yeah. I thought this was really successful, and then you didn't know what it was. Like
I do now, but it took a bit.
But you understand
we didn't get this in the UK, right? We didn't get it at all.
Fair. But you understand the analogy, though, that like I love what you're mentioning because this is something that I've had to consider as well. Is like not everyone can hang, and you have to make products for those consumers.
In my 20s, I didn't give a fuck. But as you get older, you're like, oh, I'm now older. Yeah, and I need to consider these things for myself.
But especially for like the health of a business and supplements, right?
Yeah, no, massively so.
Like I would bet there are more consumers in the world that want to improve their joint health than want a better pump.
Absolutely. I mean,
not even close.
You could rebrand that product in like a glass bottle with a clinical label, and you could sell it as Wellness Joint Max.
And we enjoy a lot of business in that.
Millions.
So I actually think that we really cut our teeth in general wellness and healthy aging, and it was only even recently, the last 10 years or so, that the active nutritionist, the athlete is really realizing that this is going to extend my career. This is going to make my life better. This is because I think there was you didn't want to admit that I'm aging, or that thing I'm my joints are inflamed. I'm struggling. My recovery is not where it needs to be.
It's
one
one of the
that air of invincibility.
It's one of the biggest barriers with young athletes is getting them to understand one day you'll be an old athlete. You don't want to be a broke old athlete, because then you're not an athlete at all. And it's so hard to get a 21-year-old, but nothing hurts to realize you need active recovery. You need supplements that aren't just pre-workout.
Most of these guys need a trigger. They're like, if I'm not in pain, I'm not going to take something. But it's being able to do
I
this.
used to be that person, so I get it. Yeah.
So that's why what we've really seen with this ingredient and a lot of the evolution in the industry is that people are gravitating. They understand now. This is going to make my life better. It's going to extend my active career. It's going to let me approach life better.
And I think what you're finding is the wellness community, for all of the flaws of the kind of sports community or the hardcore community, people are fairly well informed generally now on not only what ingredients they want, but also what kind of dosing they want.
Sure.
And things like ChatGPT have made it so easy for someone to just take a photo of a label, put it in ChatGPT, is this shit? So the wellness community used to be the ground, the general public supplement market used to be the ground of just absolute trash on trash.
Yeah.
I think that's starting to get pushed out now because people you can go into Walmart and take a photo of a label and know in 10 minutes, that's actually a waste of money. So I think we're starting to see the end of that, and that's where ingredients like ApresFlex are coming to the front, because it's so much easier to explain why it's good and why it's going to benefit you. And I think people are happier to spend more money on something that will actually work. Like £10 on something that does nothing gives you nothing, no matter how cheap it is, right?
Yeah.
So we're seeing more and more of that. And some of those wellness customers are coming to sports brands because the sports brands are generally dosed better, and they appreciate the value in that.
Yeah. I'm so glad you're seeing that over in the UK because I see a lot of, you joked before, you could put meth in a pre-workout in the UK. You have an odd list of regulations where like you can't.
So it all comes down to this one act called the Novel Food Act, which basically states that anything that was in the food chain before 1997 is fine. And if it wasn't in the food chain before 1997, it has to be proved to be safe. So NMN is on the novel food list. It's currently going through consultation. You're not allowed to sell NMN in the UK. You can buy it on Amazon and eBay and whatever the fuck, that's fine. But that one piece of regulation is that's the thing that governs everything within the EU. Where it's becoming really confused is that because we left the EU, our rulebook of what you're not allowed to use is still based on the 2020 EU guidelines, but our list of things that you're allowed is not being updated in line with the EU. So there isn't like one place you can go in the UK and find what is and isn't available. Where this gets really confusing is like someone tried to tell me that uridine monophosphate was a novel food.
By novel food, that means it's not sold before 97.
It wasn't in the food chain before 99.
Got it.
But it's in brewer's yeast.
Yes.
Which was in the food chain.
Yeah.
So fuck off.
Well, it's just funny because we have Deshay here, which in 94 is our year. But that was, passed in 2004. And ever since, we've had years and years of people proving that science and safety data, right?
So for us to prove it, it's like a formal process. It costs like over £100,000, and like say I spent £100,000 proving that what the fuck is it? You've got your
the Kana.
Kana. I spent £100,000 proving that Kana's safe. The second I do that, everyone else can use it. So there's no incentive for me to spend that money unless I'm going to do millions of pounds of business on that ingredient.
This is a big discussion right now because they're trying to get rid of we have an exception to that in self-grass.
Yeah.
Where you can do your internal study and basically say, we've done the work. I don't want to spend $500,000. We've done it and it's okay. Some people are claiming that is a loophole.
Yeah, sure.
Because people don't want to spend.
It's a point of contention for a part of the industry.
Yeah.
So
and I guess these things have been abused right in the past. Now, my issue with this has always been, I was in the industry when we were selling the original Jack 3D, 1,3-dimethylamine. We were selling, what was the one that was like 3 scoops of Jack in one? Was it a
Craze?
No, Craze was crystal meth, right? The guy went to prison. I used that once. I didn't sleep for 3 days. It was fucking incredible. So it turns out I'd quite like crystal meth. Hemo Rage. The original Hemo Rage was 75 milligrams of DMAA
Okay.
per
Yeah.
scoop. We were all mad on that. When they banned that, we went through a phase where you weren't allowed to use a synthetic, but you were allowed to use plant extracts, and the same thing happened
Geranium,
with
English walnut.
Yeah, and the same thing English walnut is not DMHA, and I will fight anyone on that.
Well,
Get some English walnut.
yes and no, because people label it as such.
People lie, yeah,
Right.
absolutely. But if you get I had this argument with the trade and standards officer, and we won. That's the only time I've ever won, was when they tried to tell me that you couldn't use walnut extract because it's DMHA, and we got it analysed. Like, it's just not.
Yeah.
So, are there people that label DMHA as walnut? Absolutely, but walnut is not
I agree with you.
DMHA.
Yeah.
Anyway, a synthetic extract will do the same thing every single time. It's predictable, it's stable, it won't change with the season. Juglans regia, Kigelia africans, all of these things. You could have like 24 batches of Juglans and them all feel different because it's a plant. In the same way that you can get 24, or I don't know why I'm using the number 24, you could get 20 batches of weed. And they're all THC and CBD, and they're all cannabinoids, but they will all feel slightly different. But under the regulation that we use, if you're using a herbal extract, not that we sell cannabis, they're all Juglans, but they all feel slightly different because it's a plant, right? That, as an industry, I think that makes it very difficult to have batch consistency unless people are using synthetics falsely labeled.
Or I'll defend the companies like PLT that invest so deeply in standardizing their material or establishing
No, absolutely, yeah.
protocol to allow those plant-based ingredients to have that standardization, trust, repeatability. So yes, that it really separates the companies that can do that or want to invest in that and not.
I was going to say he's making a case for what you guys do.
That's
Absolutely.
the case.
Because that's what you deal with, right?
Absolutely. Although
Correct.
I'd rather they let us just synthetically make the compound we actually want. It's never going to happen.
Well, it's a great conversation, though, because
Because then you'd know exactly what it was. It would do exactly the same thing every time. And it would be a lot cheaper. And rhodiola, salidrosides, perfect example, right? I don't know where this stands in the US, but rhodiola
It's only part of rhodiola, but yeah.
But rhodiola is an endangered species.
It is on a list, yes.
Yeah, salidrosides, synthetic salidrosides, as a user, do the same thing.
Some of the same thing.
This is a great conversation.
In my
for
experience, a synthetic salidroside will do the same thing, in my experience. But I can't use a synthetic salidroside because it wasn't in the food chain prior to 1997. But I can use rhodiola, even though it's an endangered species.
Or if you have an investment over decades to create a cultivated material like
Is that available in
Rhodiolife.
the EU yet? Because I've got a brand that wants one.
So we should definitely have a conversation around Rhodiolife. So
Okay. Is that EU novel approved?
I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
one. I'll
Because
get back to you.
under combat
That
fuel,
was a good lawyer answer,
Yeah,
Steve.
good lawyer answer.
under combat fuel, we want to do a rhodiola product, but that's the pickle in the UK at the moment. If we do
Sure.
rhodiola, we don't know how long we're going to be able to do it for. We can't use a fully synthetic, so we need something like that.
Yeah,
That'd be perfect.
look, rhodiola with not only with people that were adulterating the material or just not having sustainable harvesting methodology. This is something that PLT and our partner Nectium really invested in for a long time. So I can understand the challenges that you're facing and why one might want to turn to.
It's more just not knowing where to go with it because you don't know which way they're going to go with the regulation, right?
Sure.
They're very unlikely to approve a synthetic, but also there's probably a point where we can't use just a harvested from China anymore.
Yeah.
And standardization is an issue. So yeah, something like that would be great as long as you boys can get it through the EU loopholes.
Yeah, and we're obviously we're from the Altai Mountains, so it's not coming in from China. So, but your point is well taken.
Where are they?
So the Altai Mountains. So this is in the area of parts of Russia and other places like that.
We're not allowed things from Russia, are we anymore?
Us? No,
Yeah,
but I
no.
think you.
I can have stuff from Russia.
I think yeah,
Maybe.
I'm not sure.
So
That's a lawyer question. That's not-
okay.
more lawyer questions.
Yeah.
Fine, okay. But yeah, no, I find that aspect fascinating at the moment because we're kind of, your hands are tied behind your back with a lot of things.
I think it's a valuable conversation though, because if you can prove, hey, this is it's naturally available, it's safe, it's it's great and everything, then like sometimes it could be more commercially viable to do it through another, maybe fermentation or synthetic route or something. But they don't. we're not always set up for that.
We've still got
regulatory-wise.
in the EU the Ashwagandha consultation is still live and is due to end soon, and it's sounding like.
Could you tell us about? I don't know anything about this.
Okay,
yet.
so argument is that ashwagandha is a. There was a Danish study that showed that if you take rats and you give them the equivalent of you taking about 2 full bottles of KSM-66 a day for their whole life, that's bad. Which to me is not a massive shock. There's no human data backing that up. There's just one Danish study on rats, but that study we were told to stop selling all ashwagandha products immediately based on this study in 2022. Mark Talon of Food Law very reasonably had our back on that one because it was based on something that came out of Holland. So Denmark did a study. They told their friends in Holland, and then the people in Holland got very upset about it. So there was it wasn't a novel food thing because ashwagandha is just a plant, although opiates come from poppies, which are just a plant. Anyway, so the conversation was around safety data, particularly around liver health with KSM-66. I don't think there's any realistic basis for that at the kind of normal dosing, and I think all of the human studies have shown that there really isn't a basis for that at normal human dosing. There was also an argument around thyroid function, upregulation of thyroid production, again at very large doses in rat studies. This has been an ongoing consultation thing, and I believe they're going to give it GRAS status, but that's not guaranteed. If they don't, then all EU companies will have to immediately say selling
over a rat study.
Over a rat study. I believe, who is it that does KSM-66? You'll know. Someone will know.
I just call him KSM-66.
Yeah, I'm blanking on this one.
I am too, and
This is an example
I've
of
met
when
them like 4 or 5 times.
the product brand becomes bigger than the company brand. Yeah.
I understand that they've thrown so much money at it that it's probably going to just go away.
That must be nice.
Well,
when you're
I don't know if that's a good or I don't know whether that's good or bad.
I generally don't have hatred for ashwagandha.
Well, it's trendy to hate it now at the moment because Reddit says so, right?
Yeah, TikTok and Reddit say that it causes anhedonia, but I think that's just. I don't think.
I'm not convinced that that's a thing.
I'm not convinced that you can crush your cortisol that horribly with reasonable doses of an herb.
The effect on cortisol is not that marked. I think one of the problems with ashwagandha and things that flatten your mood if you're feeling sad or anxious. Anxiety, stress, sadness, they're responses to external factors. And if every time you feel sad, you take a compound, whether it's a drug or a pharmaceutical, to make that feeling go away, you then start to associate those feelings as being a bad thing that I can make go away rather than working through them. And I think that potentially leads to more long-term issues than the compound itself, right? That's a Western attitude towards, I feel sad, I'll take a pill, and then it goes away.
Pavlov's KSM-66.
Right, yeah.
And the other thing
that's
is
the perfect description of that. Yeah.
And when you go down the road that Rick just said, those reasonable doses become unreasonable doses very quickly because you keep chasing the same mood flattening.
I think fundamentally the issue there is that KSM-66 definitely works for anxiety. If you took a Valium every time you were stressed, that would also long-term not be great.
Right.
Any sort of...
and the other argument I heard made for this the other day by a gentleman in the UK was that a lot of the people that biohackers are obsessed with, like cortisol management, stress management, all this, a lot of the people that are taking KSM-66 and God knows what else to lower their cortisol are people that have really no reason to be stressed or have elevated cortisol anyway. So they're trying to fix a problem they don't have.
Yeah.
And then are surprised that they don't feel brilliant.
That would be more what I think KSM-66 spends enough money on advertising. I don't know if we need to give them any more airtime, but I think what I would say is that a lot of these...
With alanoid-based compounds.
Yeah, a lot of these things are normal things for humans to go through. Cortisol is important to get you out of bed in the morning.
Stress is a biological response. You can't eliminate it entirely.
I was talking to someone the other day. My dad died, so I'm depressed. No, your dad died, so you're sad. That's the way you're supposed to feel. That's a normal thing.
Yeah, people should be feeling these things.
Feel the things, yeah.
Similar to when we talk about anti-inflammatories.
My dad didn't die, just to...
Anti-inflammatories post-workout. I don't know if
Sure.
you get these comments
No,
where it's like,
massively,
don't take
All the
anti-inflammatories
time.
post-workout because it ruins your workout.
Yeah. So look, the argument.
Like you will literally fall apart if you do it.
Yeah,
The
this-
same thing with don't eat fats in this random period of time because
Yeah.
everything will be pointless. Like
Don't eat
but
carbs
it's
before
the,
bed.
It's the thing that happens in social media is every argument gets turned to 12 because you get more views.
Yeah,
if
you
turn
end
it
up with
to
these
12.
straw man articles, arguments that don't exist in the real world. The inflammation thing is super interesting because inflammation has been made out to be the devil. People selling ice baths. Inflammation is an important signaling process to recovery, and we need to allow that to happen to a point. But chronic inflammation is bad. If I've trained and I hurt my wrist yesterday, I don't know what I did. I trained and then my wrist hurt. So that's kind of chronic and bad inflammation in response to an injury. I've got to compete this weekend, so I've banged in a load of co-crystal curcuminoids, which are a cool new thing that Strom does that no one else does. It's absorbed in the gut rather than the intestine, so it's much faster acting.
Got it. Can you say that slower for me?
Co-crystal curcuminoids. I'll send you some if you want. It's
Please.
we're the first people to do it.
Cool.
I can't claim credit for that. It was Thomas, my research assistant, that came across the data from a brand. Anyway, in that scenario, that makes sense. Taking an anti-inflammatory every day because I don't like feeling sore, probably not ideal immediately post-workout, but 12 hours post-workout, I don't see it being an issue.
Yeah.
Much smarter people than me have made the arguments in both direction. But you're absolutely right. Again, we're pissing in the margins where doing the training and eating the food and stuff will still be 98% of that process, right? And then these last little bits, it's like if you're a world-class athlete, maybe worry about it. If not, like if your shoulder hurts, take the thing.
Pissing in the margins. I'm going to try to use that more.
Got to adopt it here.
I would just tell them to use ApresFlex. Honestly, that's where I would.
Yeah,
go.
ApresFlex is definitely something you could chronically use every day.
Yeah.
And probably should if you're over 30.
So
Couldn't agree more.
one of the things that I like about working with PLT is like they almost always have the answers to these kinds of like more broad questions. Like they're commercialization experts is kind of what we look at them for. They don't just have new innovation, but they have data to tell you that like you're going to be safe long term.
Well, the ApresFlex
Like-
is the perfect example of that, right? Actual studies on actual humans with actual imaging.
Yeah.
You don't see that in some actual PhD studies, right?
Right. That was what I was excited about Cellflow 6 coming to PLT. I love Matt, known him for a long time.
Yeah.
I enjoyed videos of 6. We enjoy Cellflow 6. But PLT has like a certain level of... we're not allowed to say that. We're not allowed to talk about that right now. We're going to get this cut out.
You cut that out, yeah.
Sorry. We'll cut that part out.
Yeah,
We'll get you.
we'll work at that on post. We'll look at that.
Definitely the same thing.
But
That's how I met Matt, because he shouted at me.
He did?
Because we still said, our label still said, and he was like, what the fuck is that? I was like, oh, it's the same thing. It's like, and we had to change it because we had like 10,000 labels to get through. I was like, can I just leave it for a bit?
You
He's
wanted,
like, no,
you wanted to
absolutely
run
not.
through those, and
Yeah, absolutely. He was not okay with that idea. Anyway,
that's part of supplements, though, right? Like things evolve, and getting through
names
product with
randomly
old
change.
ingredients. But getting rid of, getting through product with old ingredients or labels, like that is part of the, that's why you don't always run huge lots to start and stuff like.
Yeah. Oh God, we've made so many mistakes like along those lines over the years.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm kind of like reminded of like Quest had that whole thing with those ingredients, the carbohydrates and the fiber, and that.
Oh, when they
carb
changed
stuff.
the way you're allowed to
Yeah.
label them.
Yeah. And so another great point of when I use
Walden
PLT
Farms?
ingredients, I don't have to worry about that stuff.
there are a lot of there are a lot of innovators, that are either early innovators or even innovators that are mature that turn to us to help them identify the challenges or understand how do you design a clinical the right way, how do you create the right kind of endpoints, how do you power the study, how do you, and so that's one of the things that really attracts innovators to work with us.
So someone could come to you and say, hey, I've got this great thing, but I don't know what the fuck to do next.
Absolutely. It happened. I think some of those are the most exciting for us because it's no prior commercial history. They've got an incredible innovation. Sometimes it's a pair of scientists that have been working on a discovery, and people are great at a few things. There's people that are great at manufacturing things. There are people that are great at discovering, but how do you put it all together? How do you find the regulatory? How do you commercialize it? How do you build that up?
There's something I want to lean on to, and it's probably a little bit of a tangent, but I hope you won't mind. One of the things PLT do, and one of the things that makes me respect you guys, not just because you're buying me lunch again, but genuinely is you guys do stuff that, whether it's trademark or patented, there's a genuine point of difference. Now, I think there's a big issue in the market at the moment with people just getting like, I could go and buy a load of, I could buy some citrulline and I could call it Stromoline. and I trademark that and I sell it to people. And the only thing I'm really selling is the use of my branding, and the ingredient isn't unique at all. And I think there's a big, particularly from small brands that maybe don't understand the background of what they're doing, there's a lack of understanding that what you guys do is very different to just a trademark on a generic ingredient where we go, oh, I promise you it's definitely citrulline, and I use my name and put my name by it, because most generics are, analyzed and checked anyway. I don't know what your thoughts on that are, but to me, there's a lot of stuff that is just generics with a name applied, masquerading as something unique. And everything you guys do is unique.
And that's I think many of the solutions that we have a 7-year track record behind us before it even went commercial, because we're putting all of those things in place.
Yeah.
We're building that clinical pathway, whether it's safety, preclinical, clinical. We're not, I think what really attracted me to PLT was also the way that, we're looking at IP, we're looking at innovation that might be 3 or 4 or 5 years out, and trying to understand through conversations we're having at the customer level, what are we interested in, what should we be investing in, how should we approach it. And so we're often looking at things that are going to be on the map 5 years from now, right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
there isn't an ingredient in your portfolio that I've gone through where I haven't gotten to have an interesting conversation with you about.
We've just gone, oh, fuck it, that's just
Yeah.
citrus aurantium, right?
Like I'm a rhodiola lover. I've for years have, and you and I had some very interesting conversations where you changed my thoughts on it, because I've gone down the semi-synthetic direction of it because I was worried about the endangered part of it.
Yeah.
You changed my mind on a lot of that. I've worked with companies before who do exactly that, who buy a certain spec creatine, and they name it something. And I don't really think there's anything wrong with that, because
there's
then
nothing wrong with that, but the consumer doesn't necessarily understand the difference.
Yes.
I saw a product the other day, and the brand, I won't name the brand, our product contains 10 patented ingredients. It doesn't. It contains 10 trademarked ingredients, and I think 9 of them were just generic ingredients with a label on, right?
I call them branded ingredients now, because
that's a better term.
Trademark, copyright, patented, there's all these different...
Yeah, and look, we're in the headquarters of a company that makes their living on selling trademark and patented ingredients. There are definitely use case scenarios for all the trademark ingredients you guys have got, patent ingredients. There's use case scenarios for them where they're very, very good. There are also things where a generic is fine, and I will happily die on that hill. I saw someone trying to sell trademark citrulline. It's just citrulline.
Yeah, you came from amino acids.
Yeah, and often what you'll find is there are people that will build the foundation of their brand around those commodity plus generics, as you will, and then you want to layer in on top of that. You want to differentiate your formula.
Yes.
How do you stand out? You could turn to science-backed branded ingredients. So I think there's a difference between branded ingredients and then science-backed, rigorously studied. And the other thing that we do is we'll bolt on a lot of the other adjunct important things. If you care about, is it like rhodiola, for instance, is it sustainable? Is it cultivated? How are you? We
what you
really
do is great.
ratchet a lot of things on and bolt that on.
Ratchet.
Ratchet.
Oh, ratchet. Okay, sorry. What you do is great. I love that term, branded ingredients.
Yeah.
99% of the time, unless they're going to do a shitload of marketing for me, I'm just as happy with the generic.
Yeah.
I'm happy with my sourcing profiles for that. Our secondary testing is good.
The one thing I would say is when you can prove that there is a spec that is consistent. For instance, CreaPure.
Yeah. But CreaPure does go through a secondary purifying process.
For the most part, what I love about CreaPure is that it's 99.9% pure always.
Yeah.
It's a spec.
So I've been to Outschem's facility, and they are doing secondary manufacturing. So I wouldn't put that under the heading of, that's actually trade. No, they're patented.
It is patented, technically. Yeah. But you understand what I'm saying is that there's a lot of creatine out there. But similar to you, there's a lot of rhodiola out there, right? The other thing that I like that you do is once you have something under your vertical, like Zynamite. We love Zynamite.
Absolutely.
Right? But now you got Zynamite S.
Yeah.
Right? There's these other further developments.
And that's really responding to, the evolution where, people want convenience. They want to put it in an easy to drink can. How do you take typically a lot of plant extracts, they don't taste very good and they're not really soluble. And so you have to invest in getting that, that transformation.
Well, and one of the things we're seeing, going back to your science-backed branded products, is a lot more either well-informed consumers in the market or who now want to be informed. I think 5 or 10 years ago,
Thirsty
customers,
knowledge,
they
yeah.
didn't give a shit. They were
Yeah.
going to GNC, you could sell them snake oil, they would buy it. Now they're realizing, wait, this is important. I think you see a lot more people realizing, I don't need the pharmaceutical, I can take supplements, I want to inform myself, and having the science
Yeah.
and the studies makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Because then the informed customer, which is now growing, realizes, well, those 10 companies don't have any studies or any blood work or anything
Yeah,
to show me
we've
it
done a lot of
works.
in-house testing. So, an example, we have a product called Thrombomax, which is for polycythemia.
Cool.
Thick blood
Nice.
for people that are using.
Yeah.
We did that because I thought I had a stroke 4 years ago. Turned out I hadn't, but I'd already decided to fix the problem that I didn't have. We used to use pignogenol or pysagenol or however you choose to pronounce it in America. We changed that to generic French pine bark because they couldn't give me a spec that was anything beyond what I could source.
Right.
I don't know who does that over in the US. I probably just got myself into trouble. But I requested and couldn't get anything that showed these guys. If I contact Steve and say, "Hey, Steve, I need a bit more data on this," I'll have it within 24 hours. You know. But products like that are really unique. I think that's octacosanol, serrapeptase, nattokinase, and French maritime pine bark extract. The next step on from the informed consumer, though, is the Reddit informed consumer. I had someone the other day who sent me probably 30 messages about what form is the colouring used. There's no colouring. What form is the flavouring used? Are the B vitamins methylated? So on and so forth. And then eventually they got the product and said, "Hey, I've been doing a bit more research on Reddit on ashwagandha, and I think it might make it harder for me to sleep. What if it does?" I was like, "Well, what do you mean? What if it is?" Like, "Well, what if I open it and it doesn't help me sleep?" It's like, "Well, then that's the nature of the beast." They're like, "Can I just have a refund?" So there is a point where people go a little bit too far down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've done it yourself.
There's a
And
point where I almost turn into a gatekeeper. And it's funny, it's actually like the line where Tariq and I sometimes disagree is like, I'm like, well, not everyone needs to know everything. At a
Yeah.
certain point, consumers do need to just take the product and get the benefit. Like, for instance, last year, someone tested Element and found out that there's 400 milligrams of maltodextrin in the flavoring system. The sky is falling.
0.4 of a gram.
Yeah. 0.4 grams of carbohydrates as a carrier for the
I mean,
flavor.
I don't fully buy the hate on maltodextrin anyway.
Yeah.
It's a bisaccharide.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal, right?
But we have consumers now asking for third-party testing,
Yes,
which I
we
think
get-
is
Clearly.
cool. That's cool.
We're getting it a lot, but I think the consumers don't necessarily understand what that means.
Send them an HPLC analysis and see if they can figure out what it is.
Yeah.
That's
Or we have analysis on all of our ingredients before I blend it. I'm not going to spend $1,000 then, because I may as well just do informed sports if I get to that point, right? And informed sports is a really interesting thing because there's a perception that if something's informed sports, that it must be good, and actually that's not what that means at all. It just means it hasn't got drugs in it. It doesn't mean it's efficacious. It doesn't mean it's well formulated. It just means it hasn't got drugs
very
in
different.
it.
It's verified.
Very different thing. It's verified
yes,
that there's no
it's
drugs in
verified.
it, and if you need
Yeah.
that, then great. But it doesn't actually mean anything about.
The actual formula.
Yeah, I could do.
It's not about efficacy.
You can get informed sports tested creatine gummies. They don't test to see if there's creatine in them. They just test to make sure there's not drugs in them.
Yeah.
I will say, just because they have been on the podcast, they do have different programs, and there are programs where you could test for that. But to your point, if they're doing informed sport, no, they're just testing for banned substances.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. When you say you've had them on the podcast, you've had informed sport on the podcast, or you've
Yeah.
Okay.
They have like informed manufacturing, they have for protein. They do have label claim testing as well.
Maybe
But-
informed sports was an unfair target of my ire.
But you're saying like
third-party-
banned substance testing.
Banned substance testing is just that, but there's sometimes a perception that it.
Is like an assay test.
Yeah.
Yes, which is
Which is
just not,
yeah.
and is also massively expensive. And you know, if we get, I don't know, if I send that off and I want mass spectrometry testing on that, can you check to see that has got BHB salts in it? They can do it. If I send them that blind and say, can you please test this and tell me everything that's in it and how much, that's a very expensive bit of work
Yes.
to have done.
Yep. And are they familiar with the testing to find BHB salts? Are they familiar with the testing to find
It becomes a
impurity
hugely
ingredients?
complex thing. So to do third-party testing on a finished product is not as straightforward. And actually, if we followed ISO 9001 manufacturing process, and I've got certificates of analysis for every ingredient in that product, there's a certain point where you're just double handling data, right? We're just checking that we've put all the same things in a bucket that we had
Well,
outside the bucket.
so here in America, you do have to scientifically prove that what is on the label is in the product, and that's kind of open interpretation. But to your point, right, if you validated everything coming in, and then your SOPs have validation on everything going into the bucket,
and then we keep retained samples and everything for 3 years.
Yeah. At some point, you should be testing it to make sure that everything that's in there is actually there at the right amount. And technically, if you have an expiration date on it, that's technically saying that at that expiration date, you will have these label claims.
Yeah.
And that's testing that I don't think a lot of people want to get into whether or not anyone really does that. But
I think there's very little within powdered products that would degrade if you think about it mechanistically. But as soon as you put something in a drink,
yes,
or a liquid suspension or a gummy, I think that becomes a very different conversation.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a bit beyond my pay grade, to be honest.
Well,
It is.
This is a
Yeah,
question.
not all
You
of
know,
us.
a lot of when you're formulating, what percentage of your business or where you're targeting? You know, I know that we were talking about cans and getting into North America, but what's the beverage market, the functional beverage market in the UK versus
I
where we
think
are
it's
in the
going
US?
to be. So there's a brand I work with that were considering doing an energy drink, and I've really pushed away from it because it's super saturated. I think that functional market will become the James Smith one does well in the UK. The Newtonic.
Newtonic, dude, I love that drink.
Yeah.
That should get Rodeo Life in it. They've got like a bulk rhodiola in it that's not standardized.
Yeah, but that's decent. That's popular. I think that's where the market's going to go. I've been wanting to do a creatine. I'm middle aged. I'm lazy. I leave the house in a rush. So like a reaction or this with 5 grams of creatine or even 2.5 grams of creatine. I'll have another one at lunch. Would be sick. So we looked at CreaBev. I don't know if you're familiar with
We
water
are
stable
very
creatine.
familiar. Yeah.
But at 6 months, 50% of it's degraded.
Yeah.
Which
we're
gives
very
you a shelf life of maybe 3 months.
You have to put an insane overage.
Yeah. So that's a problem I'd like someone to solve.
Right.
If
And then if
could
you
get
put
on
an
that
insane
thing.
overage, you have suspension problems. So a customer just looks at it and it's all grainy and.
We have ideas. We'll talk about off.
If you could get on that, that'd be great.
We'll talk off camera.
Yeah,
I got
okay.
some ideas for you if you want to
That's
figure
a
some stuff
problem,
out.
right? That
Yeah.
there isn't a solution to currently.
It is. It's out there. We can do it.
Okay.
You have to play with it.
Okay.
You're thinking inside the box, and we can get out of the box.
You know what? Do you remember Blackstone used to do the angel dust lids? Do you remember these?
Cracks, the one the lid that would crack.
No, it was like a push top.
Yep.
And you screwed it in, and you pushed it down,
Push
and
it,
then
it would
your
go in,
himbine and your
yeah,
meth
yeah.
dropped into the bottle. You could just put it onto any generic water bottle.
Yeah.
They were brilliant. I wanted to do something like that. But it's probably a bit fiddly.
It's expensive, and
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
it's also like a set serving size, I assume.
Yeah. But I used to love those. We used to import them from America.
Is convenience huge in the UK?
Not as much as it is here.
It's getting bigger.
We're lazy here. I understand.
Yeah. The amount of packaging I get given with stuff when I buy it from a shop here always blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like I bought a sandwich and it was like wrapped in cloth and then foil and then it was in a bag and then that bag went into another bag with some napkins and some cutlery I didn't ask for.
Yeah.
When they could have just given me the sandwich.
And they don't do that in the UK?
No, because there's regulations around waste and
It's
stuff.
changing, though. As a non-UK citizen that I go there all the time, I first went to the UK in 2005, and I'm obviously still going now. It's changed a lot
Yeah.
since I went there 20 years ago, as far as convenience goes.
Think about it. Independence, man. We do what we want over here.
We're independent, kind of.
We got talking about self-love, but we didn't actually talk about like what you used it for, what you started for. It seems like that's the one you're the biggest fan of.
We
right?
used it in our peaking product. So we want to put it in our pump product. It's been on my list for ages, but again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Our pump product's been going. Our pump product approaches things very differently to most products on the market. When you upregulate, so when you take citrulline to convert to arginine. To produce nitric oxide in the bloodstream, you also produce arginase when you produce arginine, and arginase breaks down nitric oxide. Arginine converts nitric oxide, arginase breaks it down. And I find when you go for these super high citrulline products, 8 grams, 10 grams, whatever, you get a really good pump for half an hour, and then you struggle to get a pump again. That was my personal experience. So Ashwagandha are very different. That was unrelated to what you asked. We have it in our pre-show diuretic.
Peak Max.
And it's been there for a very long time, and it works really, really well. So you load that product over the course of 2 to 4 days, and it's a combination.
No longer than 7. It could be a longer.
Yeah.
You know, because of the diuretic, you're worried about the time.
Yeah, well, you ramp the dose up as well over
Right.
time.
So
Okay.
you ramp it into the show.
Yeah.
So you could do a longer load period, but
I'm probably going to update the usage guidelines on that soon because I think you run the danger of running a little bit flat if you overdo it.
Yes.
So one thing I'll say is Rick said pre-show diuretic, thinking bodybuilding, and bodybuilding was where that was marketed, but it's also now really popular in powerlifting.
We use it
I've
for
had
jiu-jitsu
clients,
guys.
Little water
jiu-jitsu
cut.
guys.
Yeah.
I've had people. I had a client use it just for a photo shoot. She just wanted to look a little bit leaner for a photo shoot.
I'll come down to 215 with you with that. Yeah.
So just PANS 2026. Me and
Rick and I are
Sam
going
are
to compete
going to get
together
after
next
it.
year.
I like it.
We'll use some Selflow 6.
We're going to be there. We want to see this happen.
Yeah. And what's going to happen is we're both going to get knocked out in the quarters, not actually have a match.
We're going to
and
have
waste
to go
everybody's time.
Go find a mat for you and me somewhere.
Yeah.
But why do you use Selflow 6 in a peaking
So
product?
if you think about for bodybuilding, the big problem with bodybuilding is that you deplete and you get very flat and you struggle to get full and vascular. Selflow does a fantastic job of
Self-Flow
that.
does an amazing job of that, and it makes it easy for stupid bodybuilders to not fuck up.
Yeah. What
It's
does
just-
Selflow 6 do that like your citrulline or your argines, the other ones that you...
So I find it works over a longer period,
Yes.
particularly if you load it. You know, if you load with 1.2 grams of Selflow on a Saturday, you will be vascular till the end of Sunday. I find the mechanism of action is quite long. That endothelial function also helps with nutrient delivery, nutrient uptake. So I find there's almost a benefit to that carbing up process. You could also make the arguments about antioxidant support and so on in a period of time that's quite stressful on the body. I think I'd start to be reaching a little bit if I did, but other people have said that, and I don't fully disagree.
Do you have is this a capsule product or a scoop product?
Capsule product.
So you have it. I assume you have like 300 per capsule, and you're like increasing the dosage over time.
Per 4 caps, and then you increase the dose. So you take 4 caps, and then you increase that
Cool.
up to 4 servings the day before. Some people like men's physique guys, they might only load for a day and a half. Big bodybuilders maybe for 3 or 4 days. We do have a powder version coming out. Obviously, Selflow is a tricky thing to flavor unless you go with very tart flavors. We do have a powder version coming out for Australia because the regulation in Australia, as I'm sure you know, is super weird.
Cancel capsules at all for viewers.
Yeah.
Unless you register with the TSA and pay loads of money, and it's just not commercially viable.
TSA is the FDA there for anyone listening.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
the
Not-
airport
yeah.
Not the
security.
transportation security.
How do you feel about that kind of dosing of Selflow 6?
Look, we have customers working within the 300, within 600, and we obviously I find it pretty interesting, and I can understand where you'd want to kind of do that pre-competition load
Again,
up.
and it's just for a very short period of time,
yeah.
right? It's not for it's not
And that's what we tell
chronic use.
people is, it's not for chronic use, but it's also substantially safer than using a pharmaceutical diuretic with more benefits. You don't get just pure flattening.
And then
right?
under Beast Farm, we will be adding Selflow to our Libido product. And I know
We've
I don't
had
like
a
to
lot of
advertise-
innovation conversations
Yeah,
around that.
I don't like to advertise stuff as a test booster. It's not what it is. But for Libido, it's really good. And obviously that endothelial, almost PD5 inhibition type effect, it's really good. It does give you more penis, which we all want.
I love that you look at it as a libido product because for a long time,
If you've got low test, then that's a medical problem with a medical solution. If you don't have low test, fuck all I sell you is going to make any difference. And if you're in that weird middle ground, you're probably better off supplementing with things that you're likely to be deficient in and exercising more and eating a better diet. And I don't want to rip anyone off.
even if we're going to help someone increase testosterone, like even if that is the goal, people want to increase testosterone for the physical benefits.
Yeah.
The alpha
Right?
maleness.
There is, and with that big love product, there is a
Big Love? You're calling
Big
it
Love.
Big Love?
Yeah,
It's already called Big Love.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the current version is changing because the
great
regulation is,
TV show from the old days too.
the regulation has changed around Sustanch in the EU.
Okay.
So the new version is going to have Selflow in, but yeah, it's called Big Love, and it's been really, really popular. But you get a good kind of a mood improvement, right?
Do you have cognitive ingredients formulated in there as well, or just the mood? Is it just the
I think
flow?
it's in terms
brain
of just feeling a little bit
oxygenation?
more masculine. Yeah, well, I'll send you
Okay.
some if you want, because the formula is so
course.
US compliant.
Yep.
So we'll send you some of the existing formula, and then the new version we want to have a conversation with you about having cell flow in, and you probably need to cut that out because I don't know if that's allowed
Whatever.
to be public information. Probably is. I
Should
don't
send
care.
you some information on test factor too.
What's the underlying ingredient?
So that's a combination of Spranthus indicus, so East Indian globe thistle.
Yeah, we already used Spalancis. in
Yeah,
it.
and then mango tree bark. Yeah, so it's a kind of
I'd be interested
combination.
to look. I mean, we already use that product. Already has Spalancis in it, I'll come back to you. There's another ingredient in there that you don't see. But I really like
325
Spalancis.
milligrams. It's we have some really great data on free and total testosterone,
Okay.
libido.
Yeah.
Really great stuff.
Yeah, I like Spalancis as an ingredient.
Yeah.
That's a cool ingredient.
I want to bring up, we were talking about Mega Natural before this.
Yeah, okay.
Which I think you said
Absolutely.
it'd be really funny for Eddie Hall to be wrapping an ingredient
Yeah,
called Mega
yeah.
Natural because he's like,
not
whatever.
not the second part.
he's mega. He might not be
He is
natural.
mega. Yeah, we ended up using Enavita for that ingredient because there was conversations about whether Mega Natural was going to be imported to the EU at the time. I don't know if that's changed, but Mega Natural was my first choice. I really, really like it. I like the data on grapeseed extracts generally for long-term cardiac health is I think really, really good.
Yeah.
The blood pressure effects are subtle but sustainable.
Yeah.
It's something you could take forever.
You mentioned EU sourcing for your ingredient, but what I liked about Mega Natural as a U.S. resident was the whole U.S. story.
Sourced right here from E.J. Gallo Winery.
And you were just there
Yeah,
last week, right?
We were over there filming content, and what an impressive organization that is, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You told me you wanted to tell me about it, so I didn't know if you wanted to.
Yeah,
tell us about
it's it's the storied history of E.J. Gallo and being able to one of the things that Gallo Winery and Cal Color, their subsidiary, they've been not only committed to the greatness that is grapes, but also the sustainability. They've really put that together. So I'll use ratchet again. They ratchet and bolt on that sustainability story. So. It's a great story. Not to say nothing of the 9 clinicals that are backing up the Mega Natural line. It's a great one. So a lot of we see that in longevity formulas, healthy aging, sports nutrition.
Yeah. I think it was Biogradia who brought that to my attention initially.
Yeah.
But it was a few years ago, and there was some stuff around stocking in the EU. So
Yeah.
but great ingredient.
Does sustainability come into any
I
of your
couldn't
stuff?
give a single fuck.
I
Depends on the company.
this was just the first time I'd ever heard anyone like talk about sustainability outside of like herb sourcing. Sometimes that's a thing.
Yeah,
because
listen, look at how much coal China's burning, and then don't worry about it.
For a lot of our customer base, it matters. In some cases, some companies have built their entire brand ethos around
Yeah.
that.
Well, that's
So-
the thing. I think
and
it's
it
becoming more
depends on-
popular.
Yeah.
Depends
Some
on
brands
the
are
space
building
you're
their
in, right?
whole face on it. Right?
We, I know we've had people ask about, like as a supplement industry, we put stuff in plastic pots and we ship it all around the world in planes, right? It's fundamentally not the most sustainable industry. I'm sure there are people that care. What I think within the sports industry is people care about their product being effective first.
Certainly.
And then they care about it probably being reasonable value for money, secondly, and then all that stuff is a distant third. Like, if they can have all of that without compromising the first two, then great.
how much do you think flavor influences that? Because
I think that depends on how hardcore you are.
That's a
very
good
much
answer.
so. Like, I don't give a fuck outside of maybe something that I'm having intra-workout.
Yeah.
I'd like that to not be offensive. But I think the more general public you go,
yes.
the bigger of a
I think the
conversation
further
it
you
is.
get away from hardcore, the more they absolutely care.
So have you seen Engineered Muscle in the UK?
No.
Riz. So he's a good guy, friend of mine. He's a hardcore bodybuilder. Their like strapline is hardcore, not for the general public, by bodybuilders, for bodybuilders. All their stuff is unflavored because he's got a big thing about flavoring and digestion. And
do you agree with that?
I think it's wildly overhyped by TikTok and Reddit, and I think that maybe it's a thing for a very small subset of people. Obviously, it's not for you because you live on energy drinks, and you wouldn't do that if it was causing you an issue, and you're well informed, right?
My thing about that very small subset of people is there's probably many other things giving those people digestion
Sure.
problems.
Probably should
But
stop eating
he
McDonald's.
calls his pre-workout is called dog piss flavor, and his pump product is called cat piss flavor. And within the hardcore market, and he's a good friend of mine. We sell some of his bits. He sells all of our stuff. He has become probably the most popular brand with the real hardcore end of the market, almost deliberately because they've been so obtuse about flavoring.
Interesting.
But I
almost
think
like
that
you-
speaks to mindset of that group of people, right?
Do they? That's very interesting.
I don't know what the rebuy rate is like.
So is this kind of like a flavor that it's got to hurt to heal, that you actually want it
It's
to
just- it's
taste
just
like just wreck you because you know it's.
I think
that
it's
was
just like,
working?
look how hardcore I am.
Look how hardcore.
Well, and I think
yeah.
that's part of the marketing is people want to be identified as that hardcore.
I can handle
so,
this.
So there's some people who
Yeah.
are going to buy it because like, look, I'm hardcore because I'm drinking the product.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the maybe
Yeah, no, I mean, look,
unintelligently
it's,
brilliant marketing.
it's done well for him. They have brought out a product called Catalyst, which is a clever way of doing it. So it's a mild electrolyte product, not a super dose electrolyte product, but it's mild electrolytes with some grapefruit extract. Nargins, is it?
Yeah. Norwegian.
And some estrogen, I think, and that's like the flavor system that you can add if you're a pussy. So yeah, I think it entirely speaks to market.
Yeah.
That would be my takeaway point there. We try and sit in the middle ground. All of our stuff tastes reasonable. I'm trying to think if there's an exception. I don't like the taste of Lipid Max personally, but the majority of our products taste reasonable.
I just don't like mango.
Well,
You're in the wrong
Yeah,
facility.
come on, mango.
I
It's a
hate
You're
great
in
flavor.
the wrong facility. This
I,
place.
I still take it. I just don't care what it tastes
I
like.
think from my
it's
perspective,
just definitely not my thing.
it's-
You're hurting me inside.
with the systems available now, who is it? The guys that did the flavor system on this?
This is Sensapure.
Sensapure. Systems available now. There's really no excuse for your stuff to taste bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also won't drop points in efficacy or add in grams and grams of unnecessary flavoring.
I think the main thing is following what tastes
Acceptable.
following what the ingredients are going to naturally taste like.
Stuff like
right?
this needs to taste great, and it does.
Because these ketones, the ketones are the most overpowering part of this flavor, right? The Zembrin in here, ironically, didn't affect it at all because the ketones are super, super sour.
Right.
So we went with a lemon.
You have to go with that flavor
Right.
profile.
So something like your mango bark extracts, you're going to have to go that direction. You're going to make it a tea. Like that's just what you kind of have to do. We used to have a really big hardcore crowd that liked that bad flavors and stuff. But even yourself being a hardcore consumer, when you taste it, you're like, oh, that's actually really good. And so you would prefer something that tasted good.
Yeah, I
if
think
it
so.
could.
If it's just as efficacious. The only product I ever had that I couldn't finish because of the flavor, and I don't know if I'm going to show my age here now, was Gakic.
Oh God, Gakic.
You remember this?
I just podcasted with Muscle Tech last week.
No
yeah.
way. So
Yeah.
that's the only thing I've ever had was like, I can't do this.
Gakic was hardcore.
Gakic was
For
rough.
me, it was Assault from Muscle Farm.
I liked that.
The original.
We used to sell that. The original one, the fruit punch flavor.
Yeah, that was when they first started doing fermented aminos.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
It was just this,
Yeah.
Yeah.
fermented
know
aminos.
it well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The original.
I liked the product. I think I used to probably pretty much dry scoop that. But Gakic was the only one who was like,
Yeah.
I can't do this.
It might be
And I
the
think
palates,
the
too.
big thing with Gakic is it wasn't actually very good anyway. So
Yeah, it wasn't
not
doing
only
very
was
much.
it not super effective, it also tasted
Wasn't doing what you
deeply
wanted.
offensive.
Yeah.
If that had
100%.
been like D-bol powder, I'd probably have sucked that up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was truly awful. Pepto-Pro, I'm not a fan of either. That's not
Yeah,
brilliant.
Pepto Pro was never. It always
Pepti-Pro,
tasted bad.
is that the one that claims like...
It's like pre-digested casein.
Yes.
Yeah, it's effectively rotten casein.
well, yeah.
But it's. I used to when I was bodybuilding, I would use that intra workout, and I think the data is good. Mm-hmm. So I sucked that up. Like the balance
Yeah.
of effectiveness to
The
flavor.
hydrolyzed casein. What was it? Plasma back then, with the biotest plasma. They did a lot of that. It was like cluster
Caspari
dextrin.
plasma jet. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was that just Viagra?
I don't know if we're allowed to record that, but they're definitely at that point in America. A lot of
I
people were
was
just
told by someone that it was.
Yeah.
That was so good.
But this is what we said before about people just labeling things incorrectly.
Right.
Yeah.
And then all of
And
a sudden we think
it doesn't do
these
us any favors as an industry. But when I was a consumer, I'm still a consumer. But when I was primarily a consumer, I fucking loved that.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know, I assume there's a lot of your customer base younger people.
1835, yeah.
1835, sure. So it used to come as a pack of, I think you got maybe 100 tablets.
You got 100.
Blister pack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a blister pack
Yes.
of 10 gel tablets, and I don't think it told you what was in it at all. And you just took 10 of them, and you got a sick pump. And as a 23, 24-year-old, that was enough for me.
For me, anytime I get pills out of a blister pack, I just think it's better.
yeah. No, I agree.
Single serve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
It just feels
Yeah.
more like drugs, and the perception is that drugs are the best
Yeah.
of the things.
Yeah.
Rick, you remember Orange Crush? The original pre-workout?
Orange.
It wasn't
Ultimate
orange.
Orange.
Ultimate Orange.
Yeah. So do you remember
That had
they did a
ephedrine
re-release recently with ephedra in? I don't know where it was being made. I ordered some in the UK. We paid like £70 or £80 with the shipping, and it was okay. But I think there's almost an element of like, because that was pre-Jack 3D, so that was ephedra based.
You know what my hot take here, man, is that none of these old pre-workouts were actually that great, and we're all just being really nostalgic.
Well, Ultimate Orange was definitely not.
It definitely had drugs in it, for sure.
Well, because it had D-ball and ephedrine and Tang, and it was mixed in a bathtub. Broderick was there when they made it.
I still have a friend who anytime he used Jack 3D used to get an erection. We never did work that out. So it definitely did something.
Those
Did you say
amphetamines
Jack
should have done the
3D?
opposite.
Yeah, no, it should absolutely. You remember Vito? I've told you about my friend Vito.
Yeah.
Every
I think
time.
he was just excited.
Every time.
I
don't know. I
think-
look back and I had sessions that felt very much like I was on MDMA.
Yeah. I just think that, I think now we are currently in like a glory days of supplements. Like the amount of data and novel
I think
ingredients.
what we've got now. I actually wrote an article for British Strength Magazine on this a while ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, basically saying that the pre-workouts we remember were really good if you want drugs, but really poor if you want an effective ergogenic
Exactly.
pre-workout. We've got more effective products now than we've ever had. What we don't have are drugs, but if you want drugs, you can still buy drugs, just not from me.
Yeah. Because at that point, we couldn't sit down with this many ingredients to talk about.
No.
Like we wouldn't have this many clinical studies to discuss back then.
No.
Right? And
No,
it was all
that's
made
fair.
and it was all made in a bathtub anyway.
Right. We had the Wild West back then, the good and the bad.
Yeah.
Right.
I used to. Angel Dust is still my all-time. Angel Dust V2 is still my all-time favorite pre-workout.
As a strong man who wanted to lift really heavy things for an hour, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because that had, I think that was him being in it, and it had the picture of like an angel that was supposed to be sprinkling pre-workout, but it just looked like Coke. I loved that scene of Blackstone Labs. That year was. I was in the UK.
Before
I
they all
was a
went to
small
prison.
brand at the time. I was a small
Yeah.
brand at the time. They used to do. PJ Braun used to do the Beauty and the Beast podcast,
Yeah.
or vlog every week. We used to sit down and watch it. Like that was like the only thing we would watch consistently on YouTube.
Remember their product videos they would do?
It was so good. It was all so good.
Yeah. They were skits.
That for me is that was my favorite period within supplements. I don't know what was in Angel Dust, but it was brilliant.
Yeah. Lawyer.
Yeah.
Just sit there and look uncomfortable. You're gonna have to edit out
No,
everything that
that's
English
why
guy
we
said.
roll. We just roll.
You're gonna edit out everything that English guy said.
I want to go back to the flavor profile thing real quick before we start talking about drugs again. I think what he said about the hardcore crowd is absolutely accurate, right? If it works, it doesn't matter what it tastes like. The closer you get to the middle and then further away, they don't care how well it works if it tastes like shit.
Yeah.
If you tell them this will solve all your problems, but they have to chug down something that tastes terrible, they'll just put it down. They'll get a couple of sips in and they'll say no.
The worst place you can be commercially, and there's a product, I'm not going to name it because it's a friend of mine's product, but he's in this position, is if you are moderately efficacious and moderately okay tasting, neither side of the market wants you.
100%.
Yeah.
The hardcore market don't want to know because it's not that effective, and the casual market don't want to know because it doesn't taste like sweets.
Right.
Yeah.
And that candy, sorry. That's the worst place to be. I think you can have a super ineffective product that tastes great, and the super general public market will
100%.
you know, particularly if it's in a convenient, like in a can or collagen. Cans of collagen is the perfect example, right? There is no reason to drink that ever, other than I'm thirsty and I want to drink.
Collagen protein?
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from. I understand that. I believe that we don't consume enough glycine or connective tissue in our diets.
So take glycine.
I understand where
It's
you're coming
more
from.
research backed. The data's better. It's cheaper.
I'm not anti-collagen.
I mean, I definitely am, and I think
Really?
there's more and more data coming out that it's completely ineffective. And actually, if you hyper supplement with collagen post-injury, there is data showing that you can cause collagen cross-linking, excessive scar tissue buildup, because the collagen that we're taking orally is not the collagen that we're laying down as new flexible.
I
tissue.
agree with you there. My main thing is like if someone was taking collagen and not whey protein, I would say switch to whey protein. I think like first line of defense.
Well,
all
if you're taking collagen instead of whey protein, you could just have a glass of water and it would do the same.
I agree with you. Yeah,
Like for post-workout recovery.
And this is what we're only talking about athletes here.
Yeah.
But like I do think in general people are under consuming connective tissue.
Maybe my mum is. Yeah. So maybe the mum test. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. this actually really helps me with where I was going to go with this. One of the things is you guys have a really viable hardcore community in the UK. And in America, we have a huge active nutrition community. Like we have a lot of people who are they're just like normal consumers. Who
You mean like hot yoga mums?
Yeah,
Okay.
like tons of them.
Yeah. Wonderful.
I know. And this is painting a really good picture. We have a lot of people who just go to the gym to walk on a treadmill.
Sure.
Or just
Okay.
very, very leisurely work out.
Yeah.
And
Or
those
just
people,
talk around the workout equipment.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And those people stand to gain a lot from like really basic supplementation. And that's where I think like
Okay. Name a scenario where someone will gain more from having a can of collagen versus a can of whey.
I actually wasn't going with collagen
Okay.
here.
He's going to-
Believe me,
yeah.
I'm just saying just normally in supplements because I came from the hardcore crowd,
Yeah.
and I eventually realized like there are millions of people who really just want something that will just like speaking pre-workout wise,
Yeah.
like they would benefit from like 4 grams of citrulline.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
Like they would massively benefit from the claim of like, hey, this is going to improve your workout. This is going to give you better focus,
Yeah.
a better pump, and ergogenic benefits.
And
Yeah,
help
I
you
mean-
get through the rest of your day.
And,
Yeah.
and look, I always push back against this term clinical dosing on things like citrulline, cell flow, whatever. Absolutely, clinical dosing is important. But clinical dosing is always based on that ingredient on its own in isolation. Get 5 ingredients. That's 5, that's 4. 5 ingredients that are all designed to enhance endothelial function, to improve nitric oxide production, and take them all together. I will argue all day long that you do not need the full clinical dose of all of those 5 ingredients. You might do, but we don't have any data that says that you do, but they're all doing the same thing via the same mechanism.
Yeah.
So actually, I think sometimes reviewers and people like me can be too quick to jump on a product and go, that's not clinically dosed of that ingredient. It's like, no, but there's 4 other ingredients doing the same job.
I would love to sit here and tell you about the last bad argument I had with Tariq. And
Was it about that?
I don't want to do this without him here because I'd like him to
I'll
defend
do that
himself.
in there. Fuck you, Tariq.
But I think that's a great point because PLT doesn't really stand to gain very much by combining Dynamite and name any other cognitive
any
ingredient.
other
Yeah.
It really wouldn't
energy product. Yeah.
Yeah, it would probably wouldn't benefit you. I like to make the argument that it probably would because you actually are formulating into those things, but really as a business, it's not
Sure,
their
yeah.
first prerogative. But I totally agree with you. Like if you were to look at pick the most mainstream pre-workout out there,
Yeah.
and as reviewers,
4 grams of citrulline, 1.6 grams of beta-alanine, half a gram of tyrosine, 200 milligrams of caffeine, and some betaine, right?
yeah,
Something like
yeah,
that.
right. Like no patented goods,
Yeah.
no anything, but just like a really
Now, I will argue with Tariq that is boring, and I don't want to talk about it because it's not innovative and I don't care.
sure.
Tariq will normally argue back to me, but it's better than the actual scam products that exist on TikTok.
I think that product is great for my mom.
Sure.
My dad, right?
Yeah.
For 90% of
Yeah,
people
yeah,
out
okay,
there
I can
that
get
aren't
that.
lifting stones.
Yeah, but they could buy a good product and use a half serving.
They could. That whole half serving thing pisses off a lot of people as
So
well.
that did I tell you about the caffeine regulation that's coming in? Did we talk about this before
No.
in the EU?
No.
So 32 milligrams per 100 mil of fluid is the regulations for caffeine.
Sorry, 3,200 milligrams
32 milligrams.
32
per,
milligrams per.
So this is, well, that's not got caffeine in. But so if you had a 320 milligram of caffeine pre-workout,
Okay.
you would have to say that the consumer needs to use it in a litre of water. So with EU products, the 1 serving, 2 serving thing is normally to get around
Yes.
the caffeine regulation.
Yeah.
It's not because the formulator, who is normally someone who's actually probably smarter than we give him credit for, sometimes, not always. It's not because the formulator doesn't understand what dosing should be, or they're trying to rip people off. It's because they have to label it that way.
Yeah.
HR Labs is a perfect example of this. Liam, HR Labs, very smart dude,
guys.
has to label it that way because that's the EU regulation of how he has to label that dose of caffeine.
So this is so funny you bring this up. I did a formula with Bucked Up last month.
Yeah, they're the guys that are
Refactor.
obsessed with deer, right?
Not anymore, and this is the fun. This is
Okay.
actually kind of fun. We use black ant extract instead of deer antler extract this
Ants.
time. Black ant, yeah. You look into it. It actually is a fascinating.
Okay, no, I believe you.
It's like
It
a traditional, whatever. But it also there were some studies where it legitimately increased strength, which was interesting. But we used Rip Factor for the claim on the bottle
Okay.
of increasing strength. But I designed the whole formula on a 1 scoop.
Yeah.
They ended up making it 1 scoop, 2 scoop, with the 2 scoop as the main, and the 1 scoop has under a certain amount of caffeine
Yeah.
because they wanted to distribute to the UK.
Yeah.
And dude, I posted about this online.
And sometimes this stuff gets torn apart by people who and it's you're not wrong. You just don't understand the whole picture.
Yeah.
Right? You haven't got all of the pieces of that puzzle.
But to your point, it's funny. Like you use half that scoop, you still get like 4 grams of citrulline.
And what's funny is you'll have a lot of people who aren't the angry ones who will use half a scoop, right? And they're just not angry enough to care about it because they don't want all the product. And
we've been around long enough to remember when you categorize people by how many scoops of pre-workout they used.
Yeah. From the
Two
PLT
scoops of Jack was the
standpoint,
correct amount of scoops.
one of the things that we've done with our science is knowing that there would be there are potentialities where you're going to have a 1 scoop, 2 scoop.
100%.
We will do a dose response study so that we can validate that in the event you're using this in a 1 scoop context, you're getting this range of benefits, and this is your supported on pack messaging. When you have the 2 scoops, there's an additional layer. So we actually
I love that.
Yeah, it's not everybody does that. It's not the easiest thing to do. And you have to design your studies the right way, power them the right way, and get your endpoints designed that way.
It's pokey, this.
Well, so it's so funny you bring that up and we talk about this because this was originally going to be like twice the doses on all these
I
things.
feel wired, but I have 0 shakes.
It's the that's the parasite.
No, I mean I realize
and
that's the point, and I'm not trying to be like, oh, look, bro said it'd do a thing, and it did a thing, but that's
Zembrin's helping you level out.
I'm really stimulant sensitive. I kind of 200 mg of caffeine is about me.
That's the Zembrin I'm telling you.
I'd love to try this for rolling.
The anti-energy.
Because my rolling stack is our product called Focus Max, which is low caffeine, rhodiola, a few of the bits and bobs, and then I take that with 300 mg of uridine monophosphate.
Cool.
And that works nicely for me. But this would be interesting.
I took gold in the grappling industries drinking one of these.
Okay.
The uridine alongside some like
which
some
grappling industries?
Jersey here.
Oh, okay, nice.
That uridine with some choline is basically the same thing as like Cognizant.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So, we worked with Kiwa on this as well, so that worked out. But I like that uridine play. It's kind of like Gorilla Mind does that.
Yeah, we did uridine monophosphate under Nice Subco 3 or 4 years ago, just as a standalone. I wasn't seeing it being used in many other places, and it's become quite commonplace now. Yeah, which I love because it's a misunderstood ingredient, right?
Yeah,
I'd love to see a bit of study done on it.
Yeah, but it's the Zembrin that's like it takes like the waves of it and just makes it even.
Yeah, I'm a little bit scatty, more than normally.
Scatty.
Scatty.
I've gotten so much vocabulary out of this. I'm really excited.
We have to start taking notes.
Pissing in the margins. I'm going to put that.
We had a.
I think the phrase is actually fiddling in the margins, but
I like pissing.
A couple years ago at the Arnold, there was easily a 1.5 hour discussion on proper vocabulary in the kitchen of the Airbnb. You were there.
Absolutely. What was that? I think
it was mainly around clothes and items around the house that the English have.
Was that the conversation that led on to whether you should wipe front to back or back to front?
That was
that
totally
the same conversation?
Different conversation.
Same day?
2 different days.
Okay, fine.
Yep.
That was a conversation that happened.
I want to go back to the thing about half a scoop. So we have a product called Digest Max.
And does this say digestive health?
Yes, digestive health.
Soluble and insoluble fiber, probiotics, prebiotics.
And it's a fantastic product, but the product was formulated around a 300-pound powerlifter who was eating 6,000 plus calories a day, 6 meals a day. And one of the things that we put on the packaging, and I constantly say in a lot of my posts, is if you're not in this class, start with half or a third of a scoop, or
most
you will
normal people, if they have
regret
a full scoop, you get stomach cramps, and shit yourself. But actually, part of that, as well as it was Reese that it was when Reese was going for his world record, so it was kind of made for him. Was the fear of being critiqued at the time. I don't give a fuck anymore, but at the time there was a fear of being critiqued by Redditors and so on for, the dosing on this is suboptimal and so on. So we've got digoxime in there and so on. You really didn't need the full clinical dose for it to be effective. So it was easier to do a full clinical dose and then say, for most people you only need a half scoop. Yeah. Because if we'd done the half scoop as the dose, we would have been torn to pieces.
I understand where you came from there, because I used to care a lot about what Tariq would say about me or someone like him, right? Like the Redditors and the commenters. And eventually I came to understand that
they're not your customers, right? We had this conversation about a completely unrelated thing off air that I'm not going to bring up, but the people who shout and scream and kick off are not the people buying from you anyway. Yeah. So kind of fuck them.
Well, I used to be one of those people, and I think you probably feel similarly, right? Like as as
long as you know in your heart that you're doing what you believe to be the best thing for your consumers. Like I'm still a consumer. You compete, I compete. Dean, I just want shit for me.
Yeah.
And the majority of people who buy, all of the people who buy from us get that.
Yeah.
And the people who don't, that are going to carry on buying some generic product from Walmart, are probably never going to buy from me anyway.
Yeah. I eventually realized that, like, for instance, this Bucked Up idea, right? Like, working with Bucked Up, I knew that I would catch some flack because of the deer antler spray that used to be around, right? But then I eventually realized that if working on this product, even if it puts black ant powder into the world, which we may not be able to clinically validate super hardcore, if I could sell 100,000 bottles of Rip Factor, that's net positive for everyone.
100,000
right?
bottles of Rip Factor would be many.
Right. We can get it out to all these different people, grow something like that.
I just wanted to know what was in the
Something good
box.
Is it good?
It's a cup.
Oh, okay.
There's stuff inside that cup too.
Okay, so
you guys do this shit well, right? You know,
We try our best.
have you gotten the grip strength box from them?
they don't send me shit.
Well, guess what?
You gotta
You're gonna walk
gotta
away.
send
We
them
should
one.
we should bust out our
A little.
do
one of those?
our hygrometer.
I don't want to do that with these guys.
Ne-
I
ne-
always
A
win.
grip strength
I always
thing.
win that
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I won't win that.
Yeah.
I won't win that.
Okay,
I joked off
you
far
will.
too much this
I
week.
don't.
Have you ever
don't know.
you know?
He's got a little tiny.
In fact, we
really?
you know some of our healthy aging studies. We talk about grip strength.
What
You
was
know,
the-
is
what
grip
was the
strength.
ingredient
It's,
that they
it's one of the best measures of your overall health
There was
as
an
you age.
ingredient.
So
What the fuck was it? There was an ingredient where they used grip strength in an elderly population to prove effectiveness. This is like going back 15 years. And then when you actually got the study documents, it was one group trained their grip every day for 2 months and used this supplement, and the other group didn't train their grip strength or use the supplement. And at the end of the study, the group that had trained their grip strength and used the supplement improved their grip strength more.
Imagine that.
strange.
Filed under what I think commenters on Reddit are going to complain about. It's going to sound like I'm really just talking about PLT very nice this whole episode. But when you talk about their Rip Factor, their study with the strength, the placebo group was actually training twice the volume as the active
2
group.
times the exercise.
And the active group still beat them on strength gains.
So here's one thing I'm going to say that PLT are going to hate me for, along with every other trademark ingredient company. Please start including a generic in your study groups. Placebo, generic, trademark or patented ingredient. That's what I want to see, and I would respect the fuck out of that.
That would be interesting because this is a blend of things. So how would you do all of it?
Yeah, not. I'd have to look at what that looks like, and we'll take that under an advisement. Let's think about that, because what would that look like, and what would the generic be, and how do you standardize a generic?
Well, Cellflow, you would do a green tea extract, placebo, and a Cellflow. I know
not every green tea extract is the same.
I know
What
exactly,
time of the year?
and that's what you would
Yeah.
show, right? That's what you would show. I understand that for you guys, this is sacrilege. I know that every single company tests their trademark or patented ingredient against placebo. I understand
Yeah.
that. You know, I've been in the game for 20 years. I get it, and I know why you do it, and we all know commercially why that's done. But as both a consumer, would the vector between the generic and the trademark or patent be less than the vector between the trademark or patent versus a placebo? Yeah, almost certainly. Would there still be a difference? Well, if there isn't, what the fuck are we doing?
Well, you're going to be measuring that versus
And
baseline.
you know I'm right on that,
So,
and it's a
that's
controversial
something that
thing
we
to
do
say.
I
here.
understand what you're saying, and I like it.
If there was no
yeah.
difference, what the fuck are we doing?
But
there
the pro-
needs to be a difference.
The problem is, like a half hour ago, you also mentioned how often that green tea extract changes throughout the year.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, like, your team would have to be like really deliberate in where you source it, how you
and
source
look, there's
it.
some ingredients that this lends to better than others, right?
Yeah.
You know, so something like a something like a trademark caffeine. You know, like a what are the popular trademark caffeine?
Well,
zümXR.
that's actually where I want to finish this out. I want to talk about zümXR. So
okay,
if
so
you wanna talk
zümXR
about
versus just generic caffeine versus
that would
and-
be an easy one for you.
that'd be
That
super
actually
easy.
does-
And you may even show deleterious effects from the caffeine group, right? But just as someone who spends a lot of time looking at studies on these ingredients,
might be worth a future conversation.
That's the
Yeah.
one criticism that can be laid at every, not just PLT, every single brand doing this. It's
Yeah.
across the board, right? We're comparing our trademark ingredient versus nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's compare it against the thing that's in the middle.
I think the caffeine one is probably one where you can start to talk about it. Which is ironic because I really wanted to ask you, in the UK, do you guys obsess over blends of caffeines and the different release rates as well as?
It's not a thing I do. It's a thing that some brands do. I think the consumer, outside of the Reddit crowd, I think the general consumer just cares about how effective it is. Pre-workouts are a funny thing, right? Pre-workouts are one of the only places where I don't have a huge issue with a proprietary blend, because that product is about how it makes you feel. So I want to know if there's ergogenic ingredients, if there's my estrogen, or not estrogen, sorry, citrulline or whatever. I want to know that the ergogenic ingredients are correctly dosed. My energy matrix or whatever, if that needs to be a proprietary blend, as long as it makes me feel good, I don't have a massive issue with that. I don't know how controversial that is these days.
What I was going to say is it's funny because you say that, but there's a whole corner of the market, especially in social media, that will constantly say that's terrible. If it says matrix on it, you got to...
But those people have never spent 6 months comparing different doses of different types of stimulants and how they work together.
Yeah, no, look, it's often a tool used by charlatans to hide bullshit.
Yes.
But it doesn't always have to be. Now, I will point out that Strom were the first brand in the UK to do a non-proprietary blend pre-workout. I realise that ages me massively. We were told it wouldn't work. You will struggle to find a proprietary blend pre-workout in the UK now. And some of the younglings don't know the old law or know that we did that. But that was a big thing when we did it. Yeah. And the original Strom pre-workout, StimuMax, was 6 grams of citrulline, 3.2 grams of beta-alanine, a gram of NACAL tyrosine, 250 milligrams of caffeine, and at the time, originally it was amp citrate. When the regulations changed, that changed to Juglans. That's kind of like, if you were to throw the dice and pull out a generic mid-tier pre-workout, that's kind of what you would come out with now. That's accepted as the baseline. But we did that 11 years ago. We did that first. I still think it's mad that has just become the standard of which everything else is based.
I don't like that. I don't like that. Like, you go into a store and pretty much every pre-workout is that citrulline, beta-alanine, beta-hydrotaurine, tyrosine.
Yeah.
I mean, I love those ingredients.
I loved it when I was the only person that had done it. That was super cool.
But to your point, at the bottom, having a little blend that says caffeine, zümXR, yohimbe.
I have no issue with that. Now, I know the counter to that people throw up, because I've seen it, is I need to know the exact load of my beta 1, beta 2 antagonists.
And they absolutely don't. They just feel
normally by someone that's like 110 pounds, right? That's cool. Buy something different.
Yeah, I mean, even in the last couple of years in America, we've seen different standardizations of yohimbes come out, where you can have like a big dose at a low percentage, low dose at a high percentage, and I don't think 99% of consumers know what that means or what it does.
No, I think people just like to say things about stuff. But yeah, I don't have an issue with that, and I think you're absolutely right. I think if someone has put the time and the work in to get that energy blend just right. So Beast Farm, we do Beast Farm Stim, which is a tweak. It's again, some of the Beast Farm products are completely different from Strom stuff. Some of it's very similar. So the Beast Farm Stim is very similar to our StimuMax Pro because it's good and it works. It's a little bit heavier on the caffeine. It's like 300 instead of 250. Dramatically changes the feel of that pre-workout more than you would realize. We've had people say, "Oh, that's just the same as that." It's like, well, it's subtly different, and that subtle difference does make a difference to your experience as a consumer. If you spent 6 months getting that just right, I don't have any issue with you keeping that information proprietary as long as it's good.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we can set it for testing anyway if I do want to copy you that badly. Like,
of course.
Right?
Yeah.
And I always... James Bacuzzi, who was at Blackstone back when it was your favorite, he came on our podcast, one of my first episodes, and he said that he missed the mystery of proprietary blends, where you bought...
I want to look at stuff and go, I don't know how the fuck that's going to fit.
Yeah, like they're like, this design is cool and it makes me feel a certain way, and when I take this it's going to make me feel like Dorian Yates because it's from the UK, and you know.
Have you ever tried Black Bombs back in the day?
No,
so that was Dorian's fat
A-bombs.
burner. No, Black Bombs was Dorian's fat burner. You used to buy it at Temple Gym and a few other places. I used to train at Temple Gym. God, like 2005, 2010, sometime like that. I don't know what it was, but it was drugs, right? It was just you took it in the morning and then it was drugs, and it was fantastic.
But there was a mystery to it because you didn't know the doses,
They used to do GH Blast, which was massively heavily dosed on Phenibut.
Oh,
which is
I still love
good
that.
times.
Yeah.
Good times. Banned in the UK.
A band here for sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a shame. It's fun.
Great sleep. But how do you feel about because with zümXR, they have their delayed release and their extended release.
Yes.
You can kind of play with that.
I've played around with that, fast release and an extended release, so you get kind of for me, I want to train and then I want to be done training, and so I don't think it's super applicable to what I do. I think it's more applicable to like a focus product or an all-day.
So this is a question, and this is really comes from we did a bunch of market research, a consumer preference study on energy and caffeine. So a couple of questions I just have for you overall. When you're consuming a high, let's say it's a 300 milligram or even 400 milligrams of caffeine, and you're trying to get that energy, that kick, but without that crash or the jitters, one of the things that we endeavored to do is to be able to deliver that feeling, the burst of energy without the impact on heart rate increase, blood pressure, that crash. How important is that when you're looking for the energy experience?
Do you want the real answer, or do you want the podcast
I want to
answer?
I want to hear what you think.
Just take some modafinil.
We've done.
That's the real answer.
Yeah.
just take some modafinil and have a coffee. So, I totally get it, and I think for general public to be able to access that is super useful.
Sure.
So for me, not important at all.
Okay.
I'll just take more caffeine.
That's why we're having the conversation.
Or I'll take not caffeine. But I think for the general public, I think it's more important than they realize. I think the average person that's sitting at a desk all day working an 8 or a 10-hour shift, something like that would be so much better than I'm going to have a cup of coffee every 45 minutes.
I can get all the benefits of caffeine without a lot of the drawbacks. A lot of we see. That's kind of where we fit in.
And I think a lot of that same population were the ones that complain about the jitteriness, the anxiety, especially if you have an anxiety-driven job, and then you're just ramping up the caffeine all day long, which makes you feel
How many
worse.
coffees would you drink while lawyering?
Well,
is that like personal experience? Is that a thing you would do when you were lawyering?
Well, I just don't drink that much coffee.
Oh, okay.
I would drink a couple in the morning, but then I would have like an energy drink in the afternoon. Or
I don't think I would have survived law school without just. I one of those. I had those.
Question to law school.
Yeah. I had those mugs,
That's a big
those
difference.
refillable mugs that you would buy, and then I'd go in and I'd get it.
Law school, your life is coffee and energy.
It was
drinks
almost like
in rotating form.
The coffee here is generally very different, though, right? The coffee you buy in a shop here is very mild.
It depends on the brand.
Yeah, it depends.
Okay.
Compared to what?
There's a lot of coffee snobs like myself. I think you're very selective on what what you want. But the general, although a general cup of coffee, you're getting 100 milligrams of caffeine.
Oh, okay. I had a coffee from a bagel shop yesterday, and it was very
80 on the low end, 100, 110 on the higher end in a cup.
Yeah.
I think it's nice to be able to do targeted release. I like what you're saying about focus, fat burning, products that you take in the morning to kind of throughout the day.
Yeah. I think the you explained the concept of different speed of releases of caffeine to anybody. And so we're going to put 3 different types of caffeine in. One's going to hit really quick, one's going to take a bit longer, one's going to take a bit longer. That makes logical sense. I think the experience quite often in the past has not met with the expectation. Mm-hmm. But if you can do that better, which it sounds like you're working on, or you have, and I've just not experienced yet because it's not available in the UK, I can certainly see the application for that,
Like my sister has 4 kids, and if you told her she could have 1 drink in the morning that was going to help support her chaos all day,
keep her in the appropriate level of energy without
run around
crashing out or getting
and driving. And
so they have extended release and delayed release.
Yeah.
The extended release is probably kind of familiar to what you're talking about. The delayed release, to me, is what's really cool for your sister, right? Where it's like afterburners, where like you really are taking like you're probably going to dose it with caffeine and hydrous, and you're going to get that 200 milligrams to start, and then when is the delayed?
Is that like a dicaffeine malate, or is it bonded to something that?
Yeah, there are it's grass coatings that we apply through a pharmaceutical model. Yeah,
it's a little secret.
Yeah. So, but IP around it. But where most of our research and focus has been is on the extended release versus the delayed.
Yeah.
Well, and sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Okay.
I was going to say I don't even think most of the general public knows that exists. I don't think that, and not just zümXR, that delayed and extended release caffeine is a thing. I think their caffeine knowledge goes to coffee face and
the general
getting
public,
them to understand the benefits and availability of the product is hugely important.
I sometimes ask the question, is it more worth it for PLT to talk about zümXR and targeted release caffeine, or do you just talk about Zynamite, Zembrin, Nutricog? Because you can either talk about different types of caffeine, or you can talk about other additions to the formula. Right?
I think this is one of the best things that you
consumers.
do that no one talks about.
Nutricog is a great
Nutricog
product.
is complicated and people are dumb, but I think this is brilliant. I really do. And I'm surprised there isn't more noise about it. Maybe because it's not experiential. It's not a thing that you have and something happens.
It works over time, really, good, measurable, statistically significant benefits at 15 days, but you really start to feel it about a month in.
Yeah.
But the battery, I mean, you're talking 15%, you're getting 11 times better focus. You're talking, it's, just an incredible battery of.
Do these taste like trash still?
They're
Yeah.
a little earthy.
I liked it
It's earthy. It's good.
on video. I don't know. I liked
You're gonna
it.
be so smart.
Every time I see them, I grab one of those bags and I have one. Like,
Yeah.
Not offensive.
Not offensive at
It's a
all.
little bit bitter, right? A little bit bitter at the end.
I think that I also think it's interesting how different your palate is than ours as well. Is
Yeah.
one thing that I've noticed. Like
We
just
are
trying UK products,
generally sophisticated.
you definitely sound more.
That's,
sophisticated.
that's a lie.
Curious.
Their food just tastes so bad. They're just desperate for things that taste good.
Where is the cognitive market for you guys over in the UK? How important is that to
I think it's
layer
growing.
that in?
I think it's growing. I think people are becoming less and less interested in having supplements to get a drug-like experience. People are less interested in trying to party,
Yeah.
and they're more interested in long-term health. Longevity is huge, wellness, mitochondrial optimization, and I think that all comes into that same conversation. Guys in their 30s are not going partying and clubbing now. Guys in their 30s are trying to biohack so they can keep doing sports into their 50s.
Yeah.
We've got at Strom, we have a hyperbaric chamber, we have a cryo chamber, ice bath,
That's
red
awesome.
light therapy,
Cool. That's
near
awesome.
infrared, shockwave, sauna. And the guys that we're seeing are guys in their 20s and their 30s. I thought it'd be guys in their 50s and their 60s, but it's not. It's people our age and younger. It's almost disappointing that the next generation are not interested in going out and getting drunk and all the stuff that we did when we were a proper generation. They're interested in long-term health, brain function, being successful. It's a real cultural shift.
You get along with my business partner, Mike. Guys, I do think that is a little depressing.
Yeah, right.
People in
The-
their 20s
It's
are
good for the industry, but depressing for
millennials. There's loads of data on
guess
millennials
those
that
of us
having,
well, people are
They're having less-
experiencing things less, and
Yeah,
they're
having
spending
less
more time
sex.
in biohacking.
they're having less sex. This is like there's been big data on this. They're having less sex, they're having less kids, they're taking less drugs, they're drinking less alcohol, and they're doing less.
They're numbing out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That last point is for the record for everyone involved is really what I'm saying. They're experiencing less.
Yeah, absolutely.
like they're going out and seeing things less, and
Yeah,
it's interesting.
My daughter went to a concert, her first concert, not long ago, and she sent me a video from it because I didn't go in. It's awful. And there was just a sea of like 1,000 phones.
Cell phones.
Yes,
Not a single person was in
This
the
is a
room.
big thing.
We
Yeah,
just
I mean-
sound like grumpy old men now. But
Well, yeah, but not to sound like an ancient person, but the cell phone killed a lot of experiences.
Yeah.
When
No,
you
I
just
make
went
a
to a
point of-
concert and you were just enjoying the concert with the people next to you.
And you weren't sure when you were
Yeah.
going to get home.
You weren't able to share in real time what you were doing. You had to experience
Yes.
it, and then you had
Yeah.
to tell everybody you got to go there
Well,
next.
I
Go
went
to
to-
tomorrow
I
night.
mean, I went to Giants Live when Thor did the 5'10" deadlift, and I didn't film. Someone was like, "Oh, did you film it?" I was like, "No, because everybody filmed it. I don't
like to
need to film it.
experience it. Yeah.
The whole world
Yeah.
is filming it. Like,
I mean,
if you're at a concert, why do you need to film the thing
Yeah.
that, like, they're filming the concert? Like, if you want to watch the concert, you can watch. I don't understand.
I mean, a
Yeah.
couple of years ago, Coors Light had an entire ad campaign after a Tiger Woods golf shot because the only person out of 100 people that wasn't holding their cell phone was holding a Coors Light, and he was right behind Tiger.
Yeah.
So every single person, they didn't realize
Like,
a picture was being taken of them.
if you want to grab your phone now, or I grab my phone to film this for us because it's useful content, that's one thing. But if you're at like a public event, this is unrelated to the podcast, but if you're at a public event and there's 10,000 of you there, you don't need to film it.
Right.
And what are you ever going to use that? What are you ever going to use that film for?
Yeah,
Nothing.
this is a big thing. In
It's like filming fireworks.
I was going to bring that up. Yes, like you never watch that back.
That's
Yeah.
funny. I've
You've
actually
never
joked
watched that
about that
back.
for years.
Yeah.
So
No, absolutely. So everyone
taking a
needs to stop
picture
doing
of the
that
Grand
because
Canyon,
it's awful.
it's not. It doesn't
It's not
translate.
going
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't
It
translate.
doesn't translate. Like, there's a giant hole in the ground. Like, that's cool. Like,
Fireworks do not
Yeah.
translate.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot that doesn't translate. I'm gonna have one last ancient person comment. The thing that really kills me is you go to dinner and there's 4 young people at a table and they're all on their phones. Like, why'd you
Yeah.
come to this?
They're not
fucking
talking to each
restaurant?
other. They're not.
yeah.
Like, go
Yeah.
hang out with
It's
the
very-
person on the phone.
It's
very
very
depressing.
isolatory.
Very
the
disappointing.
cell phone.
But
The cell phone
yeah,
generation.
it goes back to the less experiences generally because
Yeah.
the experience is the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't understand they're missing
Yeah, and it's, look, as a business person, I'm sure you're the same. My screen time last week was 11 hours a day.
Right.
So bad, dude.
But you know what? If
That's
I go
our
back,
business.
If I go back 5 or 10 years, I probably had screen time of 3 hours a day, but laptop screen time of 8 hours a day. So it's just all on the phone now.
Yeah. Your thumbs get sore.
This wrist is genuinely,
Yeah.
I know it's a real thing. But that's your job, right? And we're hugely blessed to be able to do that rather than work down a coal mine.
Yeah, very validating.
I would have been
Thank you.
terrible at.
Yeah, I wouldn't have liked that. Well, final thoughts from PLT.
Look, this conversation ranged all over the place, but I think being able to bring.
You should probably do a disclaimer.
Yeah, well, we'll figure out everything.
Yeah,
in
we
post,
might
but
clean those things up a little bit.
It's like a 6-minute podcast.
But bringing in innovators as yourselves and being able to talk about trends, ingredients, and what motivates you to pick and choose an ingredient or what kind of formulas you like, it's fantastic. Just being able to spend this time together. I don't think we do it enough.
Yeah, this has been phenomenal. We always finish with where can we find you? Can you guys pitch yourselves for a second?
So in the US, I'll let Dean handle that because I assume that's your primary consumer base.
We are not beholden only to that. So please tell us about the UK as well.
Okay, so in the UK, stromsports.com. Instagram is, if you message Instagram, you do get directly through to me if you wanted that. If you want to actually get some of my time, you can go on the website and you can book a consultation with me. A lot of people do that around this kind of biohacking, wellness, optimizing stuff at the moment. I mostly end up just telling people to probably eat real food and don't worry about it too much. And then we have Strom New Zealand, Strom Australia, Strom Ireland. They're all at there.
Strom Down Under is the Instagram.
Strom Down Under. No, Strom Down Under and Strom Australia
They've now changed.
Oh,
they've now
okay.
changed.
because New Zealand did cover all of that.
Okay.
Yeah, and Australia has such different regulations. There's not really much competition there because they have to sell everything in
And then-
powders.
On a personal level, I love America. I hope to one day retire here. I think, despite some issues, it's a fantastic country. So it's really important to me that Strom US was run by an American and generated money in America. So Dean runs Strom US, and you can find him.
StromSportsUS.com, very creative. Our email is info@StromSportsUS.com, and our Instagram is Strom Sports Nutrition US.
Cool. We will have to get linked up with all you guys. We do a lot of tracking online for pricing and stuff, so there's a lot of ways that we can work together. So
No, that'd be sick.
Yeah.
this has been awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and
Thank you for having us.
I'm excited to see what makes it to the internet out of this podcast.
And I think someone said something about lunch.
I did hear there was food.
I heard
Yeah.
that.
Food
That
is
dude
here.
over there has been eating for ages.
I didn't even know Sean was back there. There he is. He's so quiet.
Awesome.
He was eavesdropping.
This has been good. Thank you guys.
No, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.